Mr. Fuest, thank you so much for joining us. When we look at the business confidence, 93.4, just a touch below estimates, but really pretty much in line with estimates. Do you worry that with the coronavirus cases actually rising and on the rise, it will mean a big hit for consumption?
There is a risk, no doubt about that. I mean, what's driving the recovery in the index at the moment is manufacturing mostly. So we see improvements there, and that's related to exports to some of our trade partners going quite well. Also to businesses, to manufacturing in other countries recovering. But there clearly is a risk that the second wave of the virus will cause problems. We see this in the readings for the service sector, which isn't great this time. So we ask companies about the current situation and expectations are going down in services. That means companies are worried about the second wave here.
So how confident are you in your forecasts, given the rising uncertainty that we're dealing with now?
At this stage, clearly forecasts are very difficult, no doubt about that. It's very hard to assess how the infections will go, how the pandemic will play out. In addition, we have uncertainty about US elections and all that surrounds it. And on top of that, we have the Brexit negotiations that are kind of stuck. So there's a lot of uncertainty around. Forecasts are just scenarios that need to make assumptions. They are very uncertain, no doubt.
If you look at what we've been seeing overall about the furlough scheme in many European countries, what's the right thing for the German government to do right now to make sure the economy is fully supported as much as they can afford to?
So the German government has come up with a lot of stimulus. That was the right thing to do. And I think at the current stage, it's important to continue doing this. I think there's no reason to extend stimulus at this point in time. But at the same time, it would be much too early to think about scaling back stimulus. So just continue what's been decided, including the furlough scheme. Is good, and early next year, I suppose, we will know more about where the economy is going, and then new decisions can be made.
Do you think the German model should be a great example for other European countries to follow suit in terms of extending support to businesses and the economy?
I frankly don't think so. So we have furlough schemes in other countries, and I think that the relatively benign situation in Germany is related to the sectoral structure, which is more oriented towards industry and manufacturing. And then we have to see that Germany was hit later than other countries, especially Southern European countries, by the pandemic. And that's why infection numbers were lower, and that has contributed to the better economic situation. So it's not just miraculous economic policies.
Mr. Fuest, can you give me an update on how you're expecting, trade to go ahead before the U.S. election? Or, I mean, we were worried for a long time that the Trump administration would put tariffs on German car makers. Do you think that risk is now less because we're so close to the election?
I think the focus at the moment is elsewhere, not so much on EU-US trade. I think the US administration has also understood that US and EU trade is imbalanced if we include services than many people think. So there's little to be won for the US administration from a trade war with Europe. This is more an issue currently with China, it seems. So I wouldn't expect any problems on that front, at least.